Stellar Blade and its surrounding controversy is taking over the internet right now and only picking up speed as it rolls downhill, much to the chagrin of journalists that just want this to go away. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Smash JT. And yes, Stellar Blade and the controversy surrounding it that I spoke about in my previous video are only picking up speed. Thousands upon thousands of PlayStation users are canceling their PSN subscriptions. And I had a lot of people reach out to me yesterday on both sides of this fence telling me how I'm making up this number and out of thin air, I'm lying about the thousands of people that are canceling it. And then I have, on the other hand, thousands of people telling me that they're canceling their subscriptions. So I guess take it for what you will. Sure, people could be lying about it or just fronting, hey, I'm doing it, but not really doing it. Sure, I leave room for a little bit of that happening. But just scroll through Twitter for yourself and you'll see just how bad this issue is. Hit that subscribe, give me a like, and check out SmashJT.com for the full article breaking down this crazy Stellar Blade situation. And this is building upon what I spoke about in my previous video, but it's only picking up speed. A problem that Sony just wishes would go away. If they ignore it, maybe it will just resolve itself in time, and they don't need to address it. But the problem is, gamers are actually rallying together around Grums and saying, you know what? No, we're not having it. We want the game that Shift Up created without any unnecessary censorship coming from Sony. This is an M-rated game, and Sony still, for whatever reason, felt the need to address some sort of censorship in it. Even though they allow that kind of stuff when it involves homosexuality or bestiality, it's totally fine in Sony's eyes. But oh my god, a straight guy looking at a beautiful hot girl? No, we can't have that in the modern era. That's heresy. This situation is starting to make a significant impact on Sony. Is it enough for them to actually address it? Well, that remains to be seen. Sure, it's not on the levels of preposterous, oh my god, we need to do something about this right now. But it is definitely getting their attention. And that sometimes is all you need to do. Reported on Asmongold's Reddit, people are seeking refunds for Stellar Blade and getting them from Sony because they're claiming false advertising. Because they showed one thing in the trailers and then received a different product. However minimal it may be, they are receiving a refund from Sony for that. Not something that I would advocate for or want people to do, because all that does is take the money away from Shift Up and encourage more game studios to never deal with games that may border on the line of risque when it comes to hot girls in the games. We should want more of this, not less of it. And if you're taking refunds from them and you're saying you don't want this game because it was censored, it might send the wrong message. So instead, what I and many other people out there are encouraging you to do are not to get your game refunded, but to cancel your PlayStation Network subscription. And in the cancellation dialog box where it says why is a reason you're canceling this, tell Sony it's because they censored Stellar Blade, or just write the hashtag Free Stellar Blade. They'll look it up if they don't know, which they do, and they'll realize, okay, this is a problem. There's a lot of people doing it. And I've seen just that transpiring right now, just in real time on Twitter. Thousands of people are canceling their PlayStation Network as we go, and it's only getting worse as time goes on. And the more people that do this, the more it's going to be unavoidable for Sony to ignore it. They're going to have to address the situation and put those outfits back in the game, which at the end of the day, like I said in my previous video, it's really a minor change in the grand scheme of this game. It didn't really do anything at all to the gameplay, so why did Sony even need to change it in the first place? Gamers coming together and saying, hey, put it back in there. We aren't down with you changing this and censoring it away from the original artist's vision. Please put it back the way it was, and if Sony does that, we will win. which some people will look at with a negative view, like, great, you won one stupid situation that doesn't really mean anything in a grand scheme. They're just going to go back to doing this next time they get the chance. Do you think so? Do you think if Sony has a PR nightmare with Stellar Blade and everyone is canceling their PSN network subscriptions after they jack the prices up, it's a double whammy to Sony where they're not making the extra money on it and they're losing money from people who already had their subscriptions in place in the first place? You think they're going to want to have this happen again in the future? No, absolutely not. So not only does it protect Stellar Blade and put back the original artist's vision of Shift Up, of the bunny suit and the gore and other things that were changed, some of the bikini lines, a lot of very minor touch-ups on this game that were not meant to be in there are there. You think Sony's going to want to do that to another game in the future? No! So if you draw the line in the sand right now, take a stand, tell Sony you're not down with it, they're more likely to change how they act when it comes to censorship moving forward. And from what I've seen online, that's exactly what's happening. And you know what's funny about this entire situation is it strikes me as odd that the vast majority of popular or known brands when it comes to games journalism out there, these journalists aren't talking about the situation. They're ignoring it. They're burying their heads in the sand, pretending it doesn't exist, hoping it will go away, when in reality, this is the biggest story in gaming right now. It should tell you something about their priorities. Why aren't they talking about it? Why are they ignoring it? Why are they trying to make fun of Grums and belittle him when this story has taken on a life of its own? The only answer is the most obvious one. They are in the back pockets of Sony and they want what their best interest is in mind. They want people that are on the side of the fence of encouraging gamers to speak up for themselves to go away because that could hurt the bottom line of Sony. And honestly, I feel like they kind of underestimated how big of a deal this was going to be. I saw it from the jump that this was a huge issue that was only going to explode bigger if Sony didn't address it. And so far, they've been completely silent on the entire issue, blowing my mind. And in fact, by being silent on it, not putting the outfits back in, not apologizing to the game community for what they did, they've doubled down by not saying anything. And their silence speaks volumes. But you know what else speaks volumes? Canceling your PlayStation Network, telling Sony you're canceling it because of how they censored a game, and you don't want this to happen on this game or any of their especially M-rated games moving forward in the future. So again, I don't want people to be asking for refunds on Stellar Blade because that could hurt Shift Up, but it's a precarious position for gamers to be in. How do you get your voice heard without hurting the studio that tried to step out, be different from other games, take chances, make a risk, put a beautiful girl in a game and a landscape of, let's be honest, games that have just turned into ugly girl paradise everywhere you look? We want more of this style of game, or at least this to be represented in the game sphere. There shouldn't be anything wrong with a beautiful person in a game. But again, it's a challenging spot for us to be in because how do you make the impact? How do you make Sony realize that what they did is not okay? And the only thing people have been able to come to is, I want to play this game. It's exclusive on Sony PlayStation 5 currently, and Sony are the people behind censoring the game. Don't want to hurt Shift Up, but Sony are the people that censored it, so PlayStation networks go directly to Sony, where the money gets dispersed to other game studios from there. That is one place to hurt them. So yes, I've seen a lot of comments being like, yeah, canceling your PlayStation Network, like that's going to do anything. Or why don't you just get a refund for the game if it's not what you thought? And I'd like to think people who are thinking on a higher level here can realize there's a difference between the two. But regardless of all of that, the entire situation is exploding right now. And Sony can't remain silent forever, especially with the rampant cancels of PlayStation networks that I continue to see not only in comments on my videos, but also in my Twitter feed where there are pictures, screenshots, and proof of thousands of people canceling their PlayStation Network subscriptions. And honestly, I think it's going to get a lot worse for Sony before it gets any better. if they remain silent. Ball's in your court, Sony. What are you going to do about it? I'm going to leave it there. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, check out smashjt.com for the full article talking about the situation, and you stay smashing.
Smash,